Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine
What's
a light
your
on
story?
incredible. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome, Amanda. Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C45 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the Community Relations Manager here at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on accessiBe Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Amanda Steijlen, a founder, speaker, and content creator. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
I'm excited for you to be on today's program, and can't wait for the audience to learn more about you. Can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Amanda. I'm a Florida-based content creator, founder of Wheelie Big Dreams nonprofit, future mental health therapist starting in December when I graduate. And yeah, I feel like I have a million jobs, but they're all so fulfilling. So it's like they're not even work.
And how did you enter into the disability community?
So I was born with muscular dystrophy. I have limb-girdle muscular dystrophy type 2A. So I did not know that I had this until I was about 10 years old. I started walking on my toes, like a little princess walk. And my parents were like, oh, that's cute. And then I stopped being able to run and go upstairs. And my parents were like, all right, this isn't normal. So we ended up going to a bunch of doctors. And I think it took like 2 years and I finally got diagnosed. I was originally misdiagnosed with muscular atrophy, and they were sending me to physical therapy, which actually was breaking down my muscles even more. So, yeah, so that's how I got here. I kind of fell into this content creation slash like disability advocacy journey, just being disabled and seeing all the inaccessibility in the world and seeing the negative views on people with disabilities. I always knew that I wanted to like help people. I just didn't know how.
And you are the how. Let's talk about the how with founding your own nonprofit, Wheelie Big Dreams. Tell us what motivated you to found that and what you're doing these days with it.
Yeah, so I founded Wheelie Big Dreams about 2 years ago now, and we just did our first donation of a smart drive. I started it because when I started college, I really needed a wheelchair accessible van and a smart drive that my insurance would not cover. So I had my grandparents that were very kind, and they ended up giving me my van and my smart drive, which absolutely changed my life. And it really brought awareness to the fact that people could do so many things with their lives if they were just provided the technology that they needed. So I started the nonprofit to give back, just like my grandparents did, and help people to reach their goals.
I love that. And there's always more to give, there's always more to learn, and it's a
Yes.
powerful journey that we're on. And you take it to the next level, way beyond what I try to do. But your content creation and content creator abilities are just soaring. Can you tell us about your handles, what you're doing, and what it's like to be just an advocate on the internet and beyond?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram at Amanda Steijlen, Steijlen. We were just talking about this. My name is very hard to spell. On Instagram and TikTok, and then We Are Steijlen on YouTube. Our YouTube is newer. We do a lot of vlogs and accessible trips and stuff that we do. And then all of that content and some more content is short form on our Instagram and TikTok. So I do a lot of like accessible hotel tours and going to Disney and plane travel and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it just, like I said, kind of happened, and it's just been growing for the past, I think I've been a content creator for like 2 to 3 years now. So it's been a really cool experience to like build a community where we all feel included and accepted. And I just love the messages that I get that are like, you made me feel so comfortable about who I am, and I actually want to go out and show my wheelchair in pictures. And like, that's what I'm going for, is like self-love and inclusivity. So
Well, it's a powerful way of thinking. It's a power way of doing. It's just so much of it is sometimes we need to be always become our own best advocate, but also to fully embrace ourselves and love ourselves and being able to get ourselves out the door. And that it can be scary, but it's still an adventure worth living.
absolutely.
And I would love to know what is one misconception that you'd want to debunk about the disability community?
The first one on the top of my head is that people with disabilities cannot be good partners, like romantic partners. We've had a lot of people that think that my husband, Michael, is just like my full time caregiver and miserable. And no, he's not. He's not miserable. I think that the world just needs to see us as people. And that is the biggest issue, I think.
I love that. My same thing with my partner. Everybody thinks that she's my caretaker or my sister, or I don't know, just not the mother of my child, my children. And it's amazing to be able to then educate the world that people just don't know what they don't know, right? Like
Right.
they're not trying to be mean or mean spirited. It's just they don't know what they don't know. So
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, even us, like people in the disability community that are advocates, like there's stuff we don't know. And I feel like we're constantly learning. So educate people.
there we go. There we go. And as someone that's an avid traveler, I know talking about Disney World and all these other adventures and places you go. What makes a travel experience accessible for you?
Travel and accessibility sometimes do not go hand in hand. My parents are flight attendants, so I have been flying since I was like 4 months old. Uh, the airline industry, as we know, has some work to do, a lot of work to do. Luckily, my husband is able to help me on the planes when they're not accessible. They do have the aisle chairs and different things, and I think it's just about advocating for yourself and letting them know what you need. And like, for example, they weren't going to let my husband back on the plane to help me get off of the plane to transfer into the aisle chair. Like, their random flight attendants were going to do it, and I was like, no, he needs to come back onto the plane to help me. So I think advocating for myself is a big part of accessible travel, especially on planes. Cruises I found to be pretty accessible. I think that their accessible rooms have been really good and had enough space for me to turn around in, and bathrooms that I can get into, which has been awesome. We do RV travel. We got an RV that my wheelchair fits through the door. He still has to pick me up to get in there, but my grandpa that I was telling you guys about actually has a wheelchair accessible Winnebago RV, which is very cool. So that could be in our eventual future. And it's a great way to travel because you always have a bathroom that you can use that your companion is comfortable like going into and all of that. So you have your own private area, which is my favorite part of RV travel. But yeah, I could say so much about travel, but that's a little nutshell of what we do.
That just sounds fun. Everything you just said, you're getting out in the world, and but it's the fact that you have to advocate for yourself is I wish it was a more easier system of doing this, and not everybody knows how to advocate for themselves. But the fact that you are and you're sharing that story with others, it's just the at the end of the day, you need to have a safer experience. And when I'm traveling as well, I'm consistently teaching those people on how to transfer me properly, or what to do with my wheelchair, how not to break it, or
Mm-hmm.
just the more and more you can communicate, the more control you can have within your journey. And I love that you're doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And on my page, if you go look at some of my past videos, I've been working with the tourism bureaus around a bunch of cities and working on accessible, like travel plans, so everybody can go to these places and know what to expect, so it's a lot less stress. So I definitely recommend checking that out for people that are really nervous about traveling and want to know what they're getting themselves into, because I have shared quite a few cities now.
Do you have a favorite city?
That's so hard. I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite, but we did just visit Grand Rapids, which was very cool. Grand Rapids, Michigan. We went during their Tulip Festival over in like a little Dutch town right outside of Grand Rapids. And Grand Rapids is just so walkable and has a lot of nature and stuff. We really love it there.
That's awesome. And what makes like the booking experience more accessible and inclusive for you?
Yeah, having the ability to filter for accessible hotels, accessible rooms, them letting us know the bed heights and the clearances and everything, that's super helpful. Not all websites are super friendly to booking that kind of stuff. So I hope that the major travel industry people will decide to add more filters and more details into their accessibility other than just saying it's an accessible room. Like, what do you mean by accessible?
So I was just going to ask you what's one message you would like to provide for the business and travel industry. I think you just hit it on the nail. Is there anything else? Do you have a second message that you'd want to share?
As a second message, I think that the travel industry needs to think about creating accessibility for people that they love. Pretend it's your mom, it's your child, it's your husband or wife. Like, people do not think about these things until they have to. And I think that people need to remember that we are somebody's loved one and it could be their loved one at any time. So I think that's a huge thing to remember when you're putting the effort into accessibility.
Disability doesn't discriminate. It's not a matter of if, but when it's going to either happen to you,
Yeah.
someone you love, a coworker, an aging body. It's just everything. Disability impacts all of us, and so thinking of it that way, it's an investment in the future.
Yes. And it
And
could be an investment in your future, in their future.
there you go. Well said. And as a content creator, how do you ensure that your content is accessible, inclusive when going through the creation process?
Yeah, I think that this is a journey that, like I said, we're always on, is learning how to be more accessible to more people. So I try to listen in my comments when people say something like, oh, this would be better. I incorporate that. Two of the things off the top of my head that I do are use captions because I find that that's super helpful for people. And I also will capitalize in hashtags each word because I heard that that's really good for screen readers. So those are just two things that I can think of off the top of my head that I do, but I am consistently learning and I appreciate anybody throwing out there what makes it easier for them to watch my content.
And the truth is, you don't have to be perfect at it from the beginning. Nobody's perfect at creating accessible and inclusive content. But the more you work at it, the better you get. The more that you show that you care. It's accessibility and inclusion is a journey. I wish, yeah. So I just wanted to throw that and agree with you're doing
Yeah,
great work.
thank you so much. Yeah, you guys are doing great work. I am so excited to work with you guys and just get to see what you're doing for the community because it does make a difference.
Thank you, Amanda. And if you could give businesses one piece of advice on making kind of the online world more accessible for people with disabilities, what would you say?
I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with like having more detail in their accessibility. I have been to a lot of restaurants where it says they're accessible and then there's steps to the door. Just actually understanding accessibility and more, I mean, I keep touching on what we were talking about, but like it all feeds together, that I think that people just need to treat it like it's their, like a loved one that they want to come to this restaurant or come to this business or that kind of thing. So I think that online they could definitely do better with being descriptive of what they have to offer.
Love it. And I love asking this question. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word accessibility?
I would say freedom. Um, I think that with accessibility comes experiences and acceptance in our disabilities, acceptance in the world. So I think that having an accessible world makes us feel like we belong here. And it does more than you think it does. I think that the businesses that buy a small ramp so that I can get into their door, it makes a huge difference in my mental well-being and a lot of different people's for just like a cheap ramp that they can put at the door. So yeah, accessibility is a stepping stone to our self-love and acceptance.
And all right, I want to end on talking a little bit more about your future when you graduate. Tell us what's in store for us within the next years to come with you.
Yeah, so I graduate, like I said, as a mental health counselor in December. I just passed my CRC, which is Certified Rehabilitation Counselor exam, last week.
Congratulations.
So thank you. I will have those credentials in December as well. I plan on having my own private practice in the future that specializes with people with disabilities. And I would love to travel around and do conferences or just speaking events, talking about living your life fully and being disabled, but it's a different life, not a bad life. And yeah, so I think just advocating for the mental health of all of us with disabilities.
Well, I'm excited to be a part of that journey and watch you do incredible things. And thank you for all that you do. And thank you for being our guest today.
Yes, thank you so much.
And to all of our guests, thank you for so much for staying to the end. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us at accessiBe_community. And as always, thanks for everyone being on this journey, and thank you for all that you do, Amanda.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.